Russia. I'm Steve Parrish reporting from Washington. The United Nations Security Council has condemned Friday's twin suicide bombings in Syria, but the 15-member council remains divided on a full resolution on the 9-month uprising against President Bashar al-Assad. The blast killed at least 44 people and wounded nearly 150 others on Friday. The Security Council expressed its condolences to the victims of the Syrian people, but could not agree on how to curb the country's escalating violence. Russia's ambassador to the UN, Vitaly Churkin, presented a revised draft resolution to the Council, but the measure left out what many Western nations are calling for. He spoke to reporters on Friday.
If their insistence is to have some kind of a reference to sanctions, that is not going to happen. But in terms of strong emphasis on human rights, on stopping violence, no impunity, investigation, cooperation with human rights institutions, we are open to discussion and to various formulations which can hopefully satisfy our colleagues in the Security Council.
The Assad government blamed the attacks on al-Qaeda. Opposition groups have blamed the government. For more on the situation in Syria, log on to voanews.com. Tens of thousands of people on Saturday filled an avenue in Moscow to protest against the alleged rigging of parliamentary elections in a new challenge to Russian strongman Vladimir Putin's authority. With white balloons and banners reading "For free elections," the protesters marched through Moscow and cities all across Russia. Police said 28,000 people had turned out for the Moscow rally, but an AFP correspondent said the numbers could be as high as 40,000. These protests are the biggest show of public anger in Russia since the chaotic 1990s and the first sign of a growing challenge to Putin's 12-year domination of the country. The protests have put pressure on Putin to implement radical changes in Russia's tightly controlled political system. North Korea state media on Saturday hailed Kim Jong-un as Supreme Commander of the military in a sign that the generational transition of power is going smoothly. It's the first time that the North's official outlets have used the title of Supreme Commander for the new leader, who's a 4-star general, despite having little military experience and only being in his 20s. Cuban President Raul Castro says his government will pardon nearly 3,000 prisoners in the coming days for humanitarian reasons. President Castro made the announcement Friday in a speech to lawmakers, citing next year's visit by Pope Benedict. He said 86 foreigners from 25 countries will be among the inmates slated for release. Castro made no mention of American Alan Gross, a U.S. government contractor who was serving a 15-year sentence after bringing communications equipment to the moon. Thousands of pilgrims and tourists have begun arriving in Bethlehem Saturday to spend Christmas in the town believed to be Jesus' birthplace. Christmas Eve celebrations in the West Bank culminate with a celebration of midnight mass at the Church of Nativity.